Welcome back to another T1 Dialogues. Yours truly, Jackson. I'm a type 1 diabetic content creator. Pete, who is the CEO of Not Just a Patch. And today we are interviewing Jessica Unger, also known as JU. She is a co-founder of the Type 1 community, which is a new collective for ravers of diabetics.
Yeah, it's all right, Jackson. It's a new thing, so it sounds so hard to wrap your head around. Even if you do have diabetes.
Lucky Jessica's here to tell us what it's about.
Yeah, it's where everyone parties to make life with diabetes better. So a big party to make the world a better place for type 1 diabetics.
First of all, I think it's amazing. One, diabetics partying and making the world a better place. Fantastic.
It is. It's really interesting. I don't think, in my kind of like 4 or 5 years of, being in and around the community with the brand, with the Not Just a Patch brand and so forth, the concept is unique and it's fun. And I think that's like something lacking in the diabetes space sometimes, but it's certainly, and I think the reason that we requested the podcast is because it's one of the values of our brand is to kind of like try and bring perspective to the community. Like, I think I sometimes get a little bit bogged down by seeing people, talk about the problems with diabetes rather than think about like, some of the broader perspectives or the fun. So I think it really resonated with me. And so well done for kicking this off. We'd love to hear a bit more about it.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it so much. So I've had diabetes since I was 13. I probably started clubbing, sorry to any family members listening to this, when I was about 16. And I remember like going to clubs, sort of like 16, 17, 18. With diabetes, I wouldn't even take my blood sugar monitor out with me. Moving into like my early 20s, going to university, getting really into electronic music. But throughout this period, my health was not great. I found having diabetes really, really hard. I was super, super depressed. Had a couple of other health complications. I was not well, but I was always out and enjoying music. I then went sober for about a year and a half because I'd had these complications and I just felt like I need to stop drinking. But I still wanted to hang out with my friends. A big part of my friendships were going out and partying. So I'd be in the club sober. And I think that was a period where I really started to like appreciate the connection of music and especially of electronic music. In London in that time, it was just vibrant and it was really exciting. And that was when my mental health started to improve as well. So I look back on the sort of last 15 years and the two things work really in harmony for me. The music and like my mental health and my journey with diabetes. I'm moving into like my 20s, feeling a lot better. Pandemic, anxiety. Oh my God, started DJing to cure my anxiety because I was scared to leave the house. And then met a few other diabetics who partied. Like, God, it's really nice meeting other diabetics in the club, isn't it? It's so fun. Like, we have so much in common. And then we started talking. Their names are Kyle and Sophia. Sophia's part of Girls Don't Sink, which is this hugely popular. They actually just toured in Australia in January. A hugely popular girl group of DJs. Kyle works at a really popular club in London called Brixton Jam. He's the head promoter there. And I DJ and love to party. And we're like, we should do something. And we started Type 1 Community. And it's got off to a great success. We love it. It's so happy and joyful and great. And as you said, that's missing in diabetes. Having diabetes, having a friend with diabetes can be really exhausting and really relentless. And that's never going to go away. But if we can have a little party, have some fun, be at Glastonbury, we're at some festivals this weekend with diabetes, that is really exciting. And also a bit more realistic because that's real life, isn't it? You've got some good things, you've got some bad things. But if we can kind of make the good things really fun, why wouldn't we?
100%. And I can sort of attest to being at festivals and like having to manage my diabetes and kind of feeling a little bit like I don't want to bring other people down because I've got to go and do something or I've got to worry. And so trying to minimize my own, trying to minimize it a little bit, not wanting to burden other people. And so the idea of kind of like, having a group of people with type 1 at a festival kind of means that you can sort of share those burdens and have a shared understanding, which is really fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also a safety net.
Yeah.
A safety net of others that know what you're doing and what you're going through. And if anything goes wrong, they'll have just understanding around.
Yeah, exactly. And a decision we made quite early on, do we want to be just for diabetics or do we want to be for everyone? And we kind of said, we want to be for everyone because a lot of people are impacted by diabetes. Obviously, people with diabetes and their friends and their family, which I recently learned are called type F.
Right, I haven't heard that before. Jackson can relate to that. He's got 4 or 5 family members who have type 1 diabetes.
Yeah, but I think type F is the support network through family. Is that right?
So I'm the only person in my family with diabetes, but I would say that my sisters and my niece and nephew, my parents are all type F. And in my friendship group, obviously now I've got some diabetic friends, but for a long period I didn't. And of course they're impacted by me having diabetes. They experience a lot of that with me. And also it must be weird for a friend because sometimes you're like, oh, my blood sugar's really low, but they don't know how that feels. They maybe might not know what to do. It's different for a lot of people. A lot of diabetics will treat their hypos in different ways. There's a lot of, there's kind of a wall between you and your friends and often your family when it comes to your diabetes. So one of the things with type 1 communities that we wanted to do is make it for everyone so that we are kind of breaking down that wall a little bit and creating a space where people can be quite open about their experience of diabetes, whether that's as a friend or as someone with diabetes. And I'm just laughing because I remember one of my friends saying to me, is having diabetes cool now? Like, yeah, it is. And it always has been.
Yeah, agreed. So tell us about the community so far. Like, tell us about some of the things that you're up to and what's the vibe like at these events?
Oh my gosh. It's just so much fun. So we launched in November in Diabetes Week, and our attitude was, let's just do as much as we can and see what works. And we ended up with a DJ Mag live stream with a DJ called Harriet Jackson, who's a drum and bass DJ with type 1, and an MC called MCGQ, who is a legend in drum and bass MCing. And his daughter has type 1 diabetes. And it was this hour at DJ Mag, and everyone was just going for it. It was so fun. We also did a radio live stream where we invited a mixture of people down, some people that have diabetes, some people with siblings of diabetics. And that was really fun at a bar in Hackney. And then on the Friday, we did a party at Toller in Peckham. And as far as we're concerned, as the founders of Type 1 community, Kyle, Sophia and I, we're happy with what we already feel like it's a success because we've already like we're doing this and it's amazing. This party was incredible. The vibe in the room was just so energetic and electric, and everyone was having such a good time. And you just see people with pods, people with sensors, their friends, their family. It was amazing. My parents came and they loved it. And since then, we've been working away. We've got a radio show every month on Voices where we invite different people down, sometimes people with diabetes, sometimes without. We did another party also at Toller last month, which went really well. And we're doing an activation at some festivals in London this weekend with our Hypo Saviour kits, which I can touch on more in a little bit because not just a patch.
Yeah, we'd love to hear more about that.
And we've also got something which I can't announce yet happening at the end of June, which most ravers in the UK will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a big one.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I can't.
I'm loving this underground diabetic rave scene that you are like creating, and this sounds so exciting. I mean,
It's so fun.
I get the sense Jackson might want to start the Australian arm, actually.
yeah.
We have one member in Australia. Well, we don't really have members. We have one supporter in Australia who is the sister of one of my friends who played at our radio launch. So you already got one person coming down. I don't know which part of Australia they live in, though. I know it's a big.
What does it take to be a supporter?
Just anything. You can follow us on Instagram. We can come to a party. We're very open.
Gotcha.
There's no membership or anything. It's all about just being together. And it goes without saying, something we're definitely thinking about is having a support network for people on lower incomes, so they still feel welcome at our events and that they can come down. It's hard to do when you're starting out, but we would say for our next event, that's something that we'll definitely include. It's really important, especially in the current financial issues that lots of people are facing.
Yeah, look, I think just the inclusiveness, and I think it's something I just pick up through listening to you. Like, I get a sense that, like, you're genuinely doing this for a community and to bring people together. And, there's nothing in it for you necessarily other than just the joy of bringing people together. And that's, like, not that common.
Yeah.
And it's really great to hear. And, like, as you say, you can't really fail when that's your intention. So well done.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, as I kind of touched on, diabetes just rocked me. When I was diagnosed, I was clinically depressed on and off for all of my teenage years and into my 20s till I was about 25. And even now, my mental health.
And was that a result of diabetes, or was that pre-existing?
It's hard to know, but I definitely think diabetes was a massive trigger of it. And the things I've worked through have all been around my relationship with diabetes and how to not let diabetes be something that controls your life. Which is, I'm sure, is something we can all relate to. It's so controlling. I'm like, go away, you're so annoying. But when I was younger, it was more like, go away, you're so annoying, and I'm going to pretend I don't have you. But now the end part doesn't exist. But I do often think, if I was in my early 20s and I heard about this, I'd be like, what? There's people with diabetes that don't hate themselves? Like, that's insane. So that's definitely my personal driving factor. And yeah, Sophia, Kyle and I are all about just the fun of it, making a space where we can have fun and be ourselves and not feel like we have something negative.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think the world is missing, is the mental side of having diabetes. Like, everything else is like, we understand. But then there's the mental isolation, the mental, like, all these things. But that's where these, Ravers for Diabetes, the type 1 community, come together and celebrate the good times. I think that's brilliant, because not only is it like, it's a scene, it's becoming an exclusive club where you turns diabetes into something, as your friend pointed out.
Yeah. And it also goes to the roots of why people started raving in the first place. If you look back into, New York in the 80s and 90s, when house music was becoming popular, or more popular than it was before, that was born in the LGBTQI plus communities needing a space where they could be themselves and where they could be in their community. And I love that type 1 community taps into that feeling, because it's part of the reason that electronic music is so important, and culture, and this, spreads into all different types of music. That sense of community through the arts is so crucial and has been for so many different minorities, and being able to do that for diabetics and something which has impacted my life so much feels really special. So that's, I think, when I look back on my kind of clubbing history, I think that's something I really felt without really knowing it. So giving that to other people is really special.
Oh, look, I think listening to you talk about it, I think it's like almost a little bit of a reminder that like when maybe the general community or when the population at large look at a subculture like clubbing, it's really easy for that to come with judgment around like what it's about and almost look down on it in a sense. I think it's a great reminder, not even just for the type 1 community, right, but for the population at large to realize that like at its base level, partying, clubbing is about connecting, and it's like fundamentally extremely healthy. And I know I went through my little party phase in my kind of mid-20s. It's kind of petering out slowly now. I'm in my late 40s. I look back on that period and I go, and I actually got type 1 at 30. I was in London at the time. But like, I look back on that period and I kind of look at who I was before and after. And I much prefer the person after. I kind of got to feel accepted through partying and finding my little tribe, which then enabled me to feel better outside of my tribe. And like, I still look back on that and go, wow, that was such a important part of my life. And I think that that's sometimes missed in society in general when we talk about partying and clubbing. So it's great to hear it. It's great to hear that it's kind of like got the type 1 focus, but also that you're just promoting the kind of concept of connection through through partying and through raving.
Thank you. And I think that sometimes people just think it's about getting, really drunk or whatever, but actually it's really not. I love going partying sober now. Like, I really enjoy it. And that's just because alcohol doesn't really agree with me that much, if I'm honest. Now, reach my 30s, I think I can say that comfortably. I get super anxious. I don't really like myself when I'm drunk. And then I spend the next 2 days, like, usually a bit upset. It's just not really a vibe for me. I'd rather go out, do everything the same as if I was drinking, but just not be drinking alcohol, or just drink a little bit of alcohol, not be super, super drunk, and have some fun. And that's been really nice with the type 1 community as well. And we've got another event coming up in July in, I don't know, do you have Box Park in Australia? I don't know if they're global yet. It's like...
Tell us about Box Park. A
big sort of warehouse. It's got loads of little food vans and bars and everything. And we're doing an event now in July, which will be our first daytime event. And when I say it's for everyone, my 90-year-old granddad is coming.
Amazing.
And my 6 and 7-year-old niece and nephew. So
I would love to hear more about these diabetic kits that you're introducing.
So I think anyone who has diabetes or knows someone with diabetes and has been to a festival with them has probably had that moment of, my blood sugar's low and we need to sort it out. And as much as we try, having diabetes requires a lot of admin, especially when you go to a festival. And you don't always have your sugary drink, your hypo snack, whatever your hypo cure is on you. And the amount of times I've had to take a willing friend with me to a bar, queued up, had a blood sugar getting lower and lower to get a sugary drink. Not only is it dangerous, it kind of kills the vibe. You might lose your friends. It's annoying. So we thought, how can we make it better? And we are introducing this weekend the Hypo Savior Kits. So they are tote bags that we'll be giving out to people with diabetes that have Lift glucose drinks in, cereal bars, not just a patch, because it is very annoying when you're at a festival and your sensor falls off. And you need, 100%. You need something to help it stay in place. Some stickers, and then some fun things. We're putting a USB stick in there with some music on it. And I've forgotten the other fun thing, but there are some other fun bits going in. And it's basically just to make it easier for everyone. So if you do have a hypo, you've got it on you. And also when you go to a festival, sometimes they don't let you in with it. They're like, you can't bring food in, you can't bring drinks in. And it just alleviates you having to worry about that. It's just when you get in, you'll have it there. So we're at 3 festivals in Brockwell Park in Brixton in London this weekend. Project 6, Cross the Tracks and Wide Awake. And I'm so excited. It's the first time we're doing something like this. This sort of like activation, engagement. So I think that it will be fun. And we've done a few posts about it online, and we've already had such fab response from people. And that always feels very special.
We wish you like huge success, even though you've really already achieved huge success. Our listeners and our viewers, where can they go to support you or follow you, or, you know, just kind of be connected to you guys?
Yeah, so if you check out our Instagram, it's at Type 1 Community. It's all words. Mm-hmm. So not the number 1, letters ONE, Type 1 Community. We're also on TikTok. There's a link in our Instagram to join our WhatsApp hotline. That's where you'll find out all the information about us. If you're based in London, please come to one of our events. It looks like Jack might be setting up our Australian contingent soon. So there might be some in Australia soon as well. And hopefully expanding into the north of England as well. TBD, we've got a couple of sort of fundraising projects in the works to help us with that. But yeah, or drop any of us, the founders, a message on Instagram as well. We're all linked in through the profile. And my inbox is always open. In fact, nothing genuinely brings me more happiness than receiving a message from someone saying, "Oh my God, this is amazing." I'm like, I know, it's really cool, isn't it? Do you want to come to an event? Like, how are you? So yeah, please message me. It makes me happy.
I don't know you, Jackson. I'm kind of trying to figure out how I can get to London to party with these guys.
I know, if we get on a plane now, we'd be there by the weekend.
Cross the tracks.
It sounds epic, and I love this. This is bringing such a positive thing to diabetes. I just wish this was happening in every city. Have all these underground raves for diabetics.
That is our plan. We kind of spoken about 3-year plan, 5-year plan. Plan for our current year is like get our name out there as much as possible and see what sticks, see what works. And then over the next 2 years after that, we're kind of thinking like, how can we expand across the UK? Is it going to be through kind of having ambassadors at universities? What could we do to, be nationwide? And then after that, I think we could go global. I don't see why we couldn't. I think it's quite a translational message. And we're also thinking, what other conditions are there? Obviously, diabetes is what we know, but often when I'm at events, I'll have people saying, "Oh, I saw that. I've got something, chronic pain, something else. And sometimes when I'm at a club, the bouncers will think I'm really drunk, but I'm just sitting down because I'm in pain, because I've got chronic pain. So we have got in the back of our minds, how can we broaden it out so people with other health conditions feel like they have a space as well? Because it's so important. And I don't see it, we have the NHS in England and in the UK, and I love the NHS pieces. I think it's so amazing, everything they do. But that mental health support doesn't really exist, but in general. And that can be...
Well, it's different, isn't it? It's different in terms of like getting messages from a health organization versus getting messages from your own community is received very differently. So like, that's why I like what you're doing, because you're kind of doing what the NHS can't do, right? Which is deliver a message from someone who really knows from experience. And that's received differently. So I love the NHS as well. But I think you make a great point about other chronic conditions and the value this type of thing might bring there.
Yeah. It just reminded me of like quite early on, I was telling my diabetes nurse all about it. And she was like, "This is really, really cool." And I was like, I'm going to ask, but I think it's going to be no. And she was like, you cannot put a poster up in the hospital.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's kind of rules in in healthcare, right? And like certain things you can and can't do, whereas you get to make it up yourself and you get to do what you think is right, and it's just going to have a different impact on the people that you reach out to.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, this has been so lovely.
It has been lovely, actually. Like I love the positivity that you have, that the community that you're building has. It all really resonates with me. I hope it resonates with our listeners. I'm sure it will. I hope our listeners and viewers go and connect or support in some way. We can't thank you enough, actually, Jessica, just for joining us on the chat. Like, it's been a really fun chat for me. It's such a great, concept, and like I'm just stoked to hear about people doing the types of things that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
Oh, it's just super exciting. The fact everything that you're doing, it is making waves and changing people's mentality around how they view diabetes and themselves. So I think it's fantastic.
Oh, thank you. And that was why I got in contact with you guys in the first place, because I saw from not just a patch, it feels very similar. Having diabetes can be annoying, but here's something that can make it a little bit easier. That your sensor doesn't fall out all the time. It's so annoying when that happens.
Yeah, and we get requests pretty regularly for support, and we can't help everyone, but there was an immediate connection in terms of like just the story that you had and the vibe that you presented it with, and like it was like a no-brainer, because this is why I, when I started the business, I didn't want to just sell a patch. Like, there had to be a little bit more to it, and I think when I sat down to think about it, like this idea of like bringing perspective and fun was a core value, and so like we're aligned on that stuff, and every little bit helps. So thanks again, Jessica.
No, my pleasure. Thank you.
And thanks for getting up so early, and thanks for being so bubbly so early.
I told you I'm a morning person.
You're killing it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I want to be a part of a type 1 diabetic party crew. That's it for this episode. Jessica Unger is another hero in the type 1 diabetic community, starting the type 1 community. It's just so perfect. So jealous of everyone in the UK. Definitely get around it. Definitely get around her. And we'll put all the links in the description below so you can get along and rave with other type 1 diabetics. I'm Jackabetic, and I'll see you in the next podcast.